Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossi. With me this week are my two fantastic co-hosts, Liz Harper and Joe Perez. We just got done doing a pre-show about character creators in games, and now we're going to talk about World of Warcraft and other games. In fact, other games are definitely going to be what we talk about first because Stray came out today. And since I have not actually been able to figure out a way to get it yet, although it was very nice for you to offer, Mitch, I wanted to hear from Liz her experiences playing Stray, because in Stray you play an adorable kitty. Can you choose the kitty? That's my first question.
I'm afraid not. You are a set kitty. You're an orange kitty.
Well, but it's modeled after a real cat that exists.
Yeah, well, he looks just like my cat. So
they actually had like character actors for the cats. I was watching the Twitter earlier because I can't play the game either, so I was living vicariously.
But yeah, so Liz, you've been playing it because you've been keeping us abreast of it in our Discord. And this is, again, one of those things where I get Liz to talk for 20 minutes and I drink something. But I'm going to say I do really want to hear about this game. So tell us what you can tell us about Stray without ruining it for anybody.
It's magnificent and you should play it. It is available on PlayStation, but it's also on Steam. I would recommend PlayStation because it has some cool effects with the controller vibration. On PlayStation 5, like when the cat goes to sleep, the controller vibrates like a purr. Like, y'all, if you have a cat, you know kind of that they have a purring kind of vibrating thing they do, like a little, I don't know what to call it, but the controller vibrates and it feels like that, and just has some really weird, interesting controller haptics as you play. But this game is magnificent. It is a game of the year, 10 out of 10. This is a great game. So yes, you are a cat, and the game is basically a platformer. You are navigating this kind of strange world that's inhabited solely by robots and little creepy alien bug things. I don't know if they're alien. They're weird, and they don't like you. They don't like anyone. But it's basically a platformer where you're navigating the world and you're jumping from thing to thing. You might jump on a ledge, and then you might jump up to an air conditioner, and you keep jumping and navigating. But what I really love about it, as someone who is really, really bad at jumping puzzles, I cannot communicate how bad I am at jumping puzzles. I'm really bad. It's not something where you have to make precision jumps here and there. You don't target yourself and you have to jump right now. You have to jump in the right angle, the right speed, and all that. It is just you look around, and if there's a place that you can jump, then an X shows up on the screen. So you hit the X and it jumps. The cat jumps. It's a cat. It's very dexterous. It handles the jumping. You're finding the path. And so yeah, it's like a jumping puzzle game. It's like a platforming game, except it's not, because you don't have to it's not about that. It's about navigating and exploring the world, not about...
So it's less finding how to make a jump and more about figuring out which place has the proper geometry to get you to where you're trying to go.
Yes, it's like that. And the other thing about it is you cannot hurt the cat. The cat is fine. You cannot injure the cat. The cat's okay. Because, if you walk up to a ledge and you, keep pressing to walk forward, and there's, it's a ledge that goes down, 5 stories and not good, the cat will just sit down at the edge of the ledge. If there's not a place for it to walk to or jump to, it will stop. So you don't have to worry about falling. You don't have to worry about injuring this adorable kitty.
Yeah,
you find the path. Yeah.
I don't know about other people. I know for my wife, she won't even read a book or watch a movie or play a game where she knows that cats are going to be visibly injured on screen or in the action of it. So that's good to know, because that would be a pretty big no for her. I know there are other people who have that too. So yeah, that's good to know. I don't particularly enjoy seeing cats get in games either, for that matter.
I will say, in the introduction, there is a scene where the cat falls and does get slightly hurt. That kind of sets up the story, because the cat's it's trying to find its way back home. But it is fine. The cat is fine. The cat is totally fine. You don't worry about the cat. It gets a little injured from a fall, but it's fine. It's totally fine.
All right. Joe, you got any questions?
No, I just really want to play the game. I want to be a cat, dang it. Cat life is better.
What the game really reminds me of, actually, is an old school adventure game, like a King's Quest kind of game, like really old school point and click adventures, because it's like, okay, you're navigating around, but the ways you figure out how to navigate around is like, okay, well, I need to pull down this window shade with my claws, and then that'll pull it down and it'll pop back up, and then I can get out of this window. Or I need to talk to this robot guy and he'll give me this thing, and I give this thing to this other guy who will then help me do this. So it's like little puzzles like that, talking to the right people, picking up the right things, going to the right places. And it's a puzzle game, really.
So
You're
it's
kind of
so it's
figuring out.
I was gonna say, is it kind of like those games? I remember one, I can't remember the name of it, but where there's a goat in a junkyard, and you have to figure out how to get past the goat, and it turns out that you have to get the goat to chase you over to another area, so it will get tangled up, and then you can get around it because its rope that's holding it in the junkyard is now tangled around like an old tractor, so it can't come back around to get you. It's that kind of thing, like coming up with puzzle solutions, coming up with like, how do I navigate the environment? How do I use the environment to get from here to here? That sort of thing.
Yes, there are places like that where maybe you like have to move a barrel so you can get here, or maybe you have to talk to an NPC that'll open a door somewhere that'll get you somewhere else. Yeah, there are also it's these little story puzzles that you have to work out to navigate and progress. And also wandering around a big open world as a cat.
From what I saw watching the Outside Xbox people do a stream about it today, apparently there's a whole lot of buttons, like you can make the cat purr or roll around on its back or rub itself up against other cats or, play or chase tails or knock stuff off ledges. Have you found any?
You knock a lot of stuff off ledges. I mean, sometimes on purpose and sometimes on accident. Like pretty early in the game, you're walking on a ledge and there's a paint bucket at the edge of the ledge, and you could just leave it alone. You don't have to do anything. There's nothing required, but you can walk up to it and a button pops up. You can interact with it. And if you interact with it, you just shove it off the edge. There are so many things sitting on the edge of ledges in this game, and like you might jump up to the ledge and you knock them all over. Or you might just go over to them and say, I think this would look better on the ground, because you're a cat. There are places you find balls you can bat around. There are paper bags that you can get your head stuck in because you're a cat and you're poking your head in the bag, and then the bag is on your head and you're really confused.
I'm literally remembering my cats doing this. One Christmas, I hear this noise and I look up and the cat's like literally gotten her head through a loop, like one of the paper loops that you like, the braided paper loop on the bag, and it's just like a cape flowing out behind her is this paper bag. She runs around the house going, "Oh, get it off me! Get it off me!" So yeah, they do that.
Yeah. So, and the cat might walk over a computer keyboard, and then it's just like a string of the character queue, like on the screen forever. The cat does cat things. There are lots of cat things.
I don't want to sound like Michael McConaughey here, but well, all right. I'm excited for this game. I am unabashedly, unironically super excited for this game, even though I probably won't get to play it until like September at this point, just because moving into a new place is really expensive in all sorts of unforeseen ways. But yeah, definitely, this is definitely a game I was excited by when I heard about it. Like the fact that this game didn't exist before now is just astonishing to me, that we didn't already have this. So yeah, I'm super excited. Joe's super excited, right?
Oh, got it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this.
So yeah,
I just needed to be payday so I can buy the dang thing.
Yeah, exactly. But we should probably move on. But I heard an so I'm hoping Liz has more.
I will drop in one little thing. If you have paid for the PlayStation Plus game subscription tier, which has come out a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, it is included in that, and you can just go download it and play away.
Duly noted.
I don't know if that works for Joe, but unfortunately it does not work for me. Mainly because I can't find my PlayStation moving. It's somewhere. But anyway, we should probably at this point talk about some other games. One of the things we should talk about is the fact that Castle Nathria is getting a theory crafting live stream that's going to be, I think, when is this going to be? I have a link to it, but I don't remember the date.
Hearthstone, Castle Nathria. Right?
Hearthstone, yes, Hearthstone. My apologies.
Murder at Castle Nathria, the next Hearthstone expansion. I believe this is on Thursday. Yes, July 21st. They usually do one of these before expansions and just kind of get a bunch of streamers on and they play games and kind of show off the game.
One thing that I mentioned in the thing, because I noticed it, is they're going to take that Castle Nathria little playlet that was written, and apparently they're going to have various streamers perform it, along with a mystery guest. And the mystery guest is going to play the narrator, Murloc Holmes, and I forget who the third one is. I had it open, so I can probably tell you. Did I do? Yeah, playing the narrator, Murloc Holmes, and Dr. Watfin. So he or she is going to be doing both Holmes and Watfin and the narrator as well. I don't know who the special guest is. It doesn't say. But for everybody else, we know we have Kriparian will be playing Sire Denathrius, Zoom HS as Rafan, Pathra as Lady Vosh. If I butcher your name, by the way, I am really sorry. I'm just seeing some of these names for the first time. I'm old and I don't watch a ton of streams. Lorinda with a 0, I think, as Kel'Thuzad, Jin, Djinn. I always pronounce that Jin. I don't know other people, but that's Stuart. You got me as to how that would be pronounced, but they're playing Draka. Ms. Powers as Olgra. Yay, Olgra, one of my favorites. Lead feature designer Chad Nervig, good old Celestial, is going to be playing Aralon. Initial game designer Cora Giorgio as Cecile. Edu Cueza, again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, as Pelagos. And Odemian as Zymox. So that's the cast for this. Right now, I'm going to tell you, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, why do they get to do this? You could do it too. Like I know Joe wants to get people to do this. I
literally, legitimately tried. I could not find enough people. I tried. I'm not going to lie.
So that is, but
we're right here. We're right here, Joe. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but can each of us do like 6 people? I mean, that's that's the problem. All of mine are going to sound like bad Scottish accents that occasionally melt into a bad Russian accent. So my Russian / Scottish Sire Denathrius is the bomb, but
I can just go to the Blizzard Watch staff and say you are required to do this as part of your job, and there you go. We have a cast. I can't tell you how good any of us are as voice actors, but that just makes it more amusing, right?
Mostly, yeah.
But regardless, that's happening on July 22nd, the day after, I believe, because you mentioned the actual theory crafting's on the 21st. So they're going to stream. Yeah, they're going to stream the little video on the 22nd. So,
oh boy, that'll be exciting. I'm into it.
Then there's the pre-release weekend, which is going to be the weekend before August 22nd, which is a really busy day. Quite frankly, August 2nd. My apologies. August 2nd, there's going to be another thing coming up we're going to talk about in a little bit, but Hearthstone's Murder at Castle Nathria is going live on that day. So the weekend before that, they're going to have a little fireside gathering and do a whole bunch of other stuff, including like there's actually a ton of things going on here. There's good old man. You're going to be eligible to get the Nemsi Necrofizzle if they fulfill all hosting requirements. So yeah, there's a ton of this. You should go read it, guys. I'm interested in seeing how this one works out, because one of the things you made a point about today, Liz, is that this one doesn't have a single player adventure built into it, which feels odd.
They don't always. I mean, some of them have kind of a single player component on the side.
The OG Ragnaros one wasn't, right? Like the one way back when. I think it was only multiplayer.
Oh, wow. No, the Ragnaros was like an adventure where you're like diving into Molten Core and you fight Ragnaros.
Oh, okay.
And then you fight.
Yeah.
Then you fight Natharian, and both Ragnaros and Natharian are both voiced by Matt Mercer, and it's just, and sometimes they have conversations together, so it's just okay, great. But yeah, they've kind of moved away from single player adventures, but we've had the Book of Heroes lately and the Book of Mercenaries giving these little single player stories to different characters, which have been pretty good overall. I didn't like all of them, but they've overall been pretty good, pretty fun. And it's just that Murder at Castle Nathria seems so set up to get a single player story. I mean, look at this. We have a play written by Christy Golden about who murdered Sire Denathrius. And yeah, there's no single player mode, and that just seems like a missed opportunity. There is so much storytelling you could do here, and they're just not. Kind of sad.
But now that we've talked about that, I do think we should mention the other thing going on August 2nd, namely that, first off, we're getting the Shadowlands Season 4 on August 2nd. That's when it's going live. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. One thing to talk about before that, though, is that from today, as of today, from the reset today, unless you're, I guess, in a place that's getting its reset tomorrow, but either today or tomorrow, you'll have gotten your reset, and that means the servers are now all hosting the Winds of Wisdom buff has returned. So all the servers are hosting it, and so everybody's got the 50% XP buff from everything. Everything you do just gives 50% more XP until Season 4 actually comes out. So if you want to level a new character, say you wanted to switch characters for the last patch of the season, which is a little weird, but if that's what you want to do, or if you've got alts you're trying to level up, or if you're coming back and you haven't been playing in a while and you don't really have a level 60 main at the moment and you need to get them leveled up so you can get into Season 4. All of that's going to be possible for the next roughly 2 weeks from now till August 2nd. So I was surprised to see this. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Liz, I heard you say something.
I will note this is level 1 to 59, so you can do all of your leveling up to
it's
the way
not
up through Shadowlands.
So it's not 10 to 50 like the thing said?
I noticed you mentioned until 50, but it's actually until 59, so it's all the way.
So okay, that's good. The thing I was reading when I was looking it up said 110 to 50, so that's what I want.
Maybe it is level 10, but I know it's to 59, so you can get.
I think it's 10 to 59 because they're trying to do the new player experience from 1 to 10.
Oh, the starting experience.
Yeah, Exile's Reach. But that's good. That's good to note. Because this is like I said, I was surprised. I'm not like shocked, but I wasn't necessarily didn't necessarily see it coming. Joe?
I was kind of waiting for something like this because they did the same thing, I want to say, before Legion came out, then they did the same thing before Battle for Azeroth. It's kind of, for lack of a better term, I think it's a really good mechanic for people to catch up, maybe if they want to switch classes or maybe something coming up has tickled their fancy that didn't before. Like Liz and I have a raid member and guild member who I love him to death, but he swaps classes like a lot. And so being able to like, oh, you know what? I feel like playing a warrior instead of a death knight, but my warrior is level like 50. Getting that 50% buff and leveling up is great. Or leveling alts. It's always a good thing, but it's nice to have that time before an expansion release to kind of not necessarily play catch up, but like if you are going to switch, get yourself ready to dive into the new content without having to slog through the old content. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because they usually don't do this before the last patch of an expansion, and also I don't know if you guys saw it, but they did a featured thing, talking about the faded raids, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. And one of the things they said was that they expected that this would be a shorter season than other seasons have been. And that has me thinking because, we know that I want to say Dragon Riders. And it's not Dragon Riders. It's Dragonflight. Ah, man. What a Riders. This is because we were talking about D&D on Sunday. That's why. Yeah. But because that's coming, fairly soon. It's almost August, and they've got an honor before December 31st on the expansion pre-order. So, yeah, even if the beta takes 3 months, whenever it comes out, we're looking at a November release. That's fairly short because August 2nd is 2 weeks from now, and then that's going to be 1, 2, 3. Now you're August, September, October, November. That's 4 months. That's not very long for a season in WoW. So yeah, it is just interesting. Liz, what did you think looking at it?
I've got nothing. I'm interested to try out the faded raids because it's something totally new. It's just not that often we get something that's completely new like this. So yeah. I'm interested in checking it out and seeing what it's like.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that then, or do you want me to read stuff from the article I wrote?
I have nothing except that I'm looking forward to trying it out.
All right, I'll give a quick rundown. Basically, we have a rundown on the site of how the faded raids are going to work. The way faded raids are working is kind of interesting in that every week there will be a new, one of the 3 raids will be faded. Either Castle Nathria, Sanctum of Domination, or Sepulchre, the first ones, will become faded. The moment that happens, the raid's difficulty jumps up. Not even talking about the affixes yet. The raid just gets harder. And all difficulties will be harder from LFR up to Mythic. They just straight up, it makes it harder. In the process of doing that, though, the item levels for gear also jumps up significantly. If you and all the raids are the same when they become faded. The gear itemization that drops is all the same. So every boss in faded LFR drops 265 gear, unless it's the end of the raid. Couple of bosses, the ones that usually are, they drop eye level 272. This means that LFR for the faded raid of the week will give gear that's equivalent to heroic Sepulchre of the first ones. Faded normal gives item level 278 gear with 285 for the last the last couple of bosses, however many there are.
3.
And that puts it up on par with Mythic Sepulchre. And then from that, Faded Heroic is better than any gear currently in the game, and Faded Mythic is the best gear you're going to see, which goes 304/311. And that's kind of, I did not see that coming. And I find myself wondering what happens to like the legendary bow. Like if you get Sylvanas, if you get Mythic Sanctum of Domination and you fight Sylvanas, what happens to that legendary bow? What item level is it? How does that get itemized up?
I think the legendary stays the same, would be my guess, because it's a unique piece. And generally speaking, in the past, even if you run content that had the potential to drop like legendary items, it generally stayed at whatever the original or equivalent therein after Squish was. That would be my guess.
I can't recall a time that they've done a raid where the raid gets harder and the gear gets better, except a legendary, because they've never done this before. So that's why I don't know. I don't feel that I can speak to what's going to happen there. But that's the item level for the various drops in the raids. Then you have the faded powers. The faded powers are like affixes from Mythic Plus, but they're not just like affixes, because yes, they have a negative. They have a mechanic that has to be dealt with. But if you successfully deal with them, you get a buff. So yes, they make the fight harder, but in a way that if you can learn how to properly deal with these things, you can actually make the fight easier for yourself. There's like the 4 that I saw when I looked at the article. There, Chaotic Essence. I'm scrolling. I feel like I'm actually like literally beach balling here. Protoform Barrier, reconfiguration emitter, and creation spark. And basically, like, the chaotic emitter is, I still don't understand what's actually happening on some of these things. Like chaotic essence, sorry. Like, if you guys looked at these,
yeah.
Joe, what do you think? How would you describe chaotic essence? Because I'm sitting here trying to, and I'm looking at my own description of it. I still don't know what I said.
It's a villain's time bomb, basically. So you essentially have the essence begins casting destruction, which if it gets to the end of the cast timer, the raid blows up. So you have to basically fight your way to get through it and stop it from being able to trigger. So I think it's what you have to kill a bunch of motes. While basically fighting the chaotic essence, and you get a stacking buff, likely from where the motes are. It's interesting. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, and the one I find the most amusing is Creation Spark, because if you were Wrath of Lich King baby, if you played in Wrath, you will remember the Blood Council there, the I want to say Valinir, but that's not who they were. The Venthyr Council. Basically, every Venthyr you beat up on your way there shows up again. They all get raised, and you have to fight them. And there's like always there were these globes that you had to like let hit you. 3 people in the raid had to let them hit them, or they would just blow the raid up. Basically, they would just do tons of damage. This Creation Spark is very similar to that. People will actually get charged with the stacking damage over time spell, and if that's removed from them somehow, which it's supposed to, it will then spawn the Creation Sparks, and the Creation Sparks will target random spots on the ground and start dropping towards them. And you need to get a player to stand there and soak it to take the damage of it, or it'll like take out everybody. It will do an immense amount of damage. But if you do soak it, you'll get this steady increase to everything. You get a 15% increase to casting speed, attack speed, cooldown, recharge, and the speed of your move damage and healing over time ticks. So it'll even speed up your damage or your hots. It'll make them happen more often. And it gives you 45% movement speed. And that one stacks. It can wipe people out if you let it stay on them. It'll kill them really fast. But it will also buff you enormously if you can survive, if you can soak it possibly. It's a really fascinating way to do this. The other two are similar. Protoform Barrier is basically like it's a energy field that you have to get to go away, a pulsing damage effect. When you get it to go away, it will form a barrier that shields all the enemies on the map, and there's a lot of them. And then you have to like heal somebody. Like it's a little bit. What was that boss? Another boss from Wrath. Oh heck, I can't remember her name. I think Melithra.
The green dragon.
Yeah, Melithra the Dream, right? The one that's actually in Dragonflight.
It's not Melithra, but yeah, it's green dragon.
I forget her name.
Maybe Merithra. I can't remember. But basically that was an entire raid fight where you had to heal. Melithria, okay. So this is similar in that the NPC spawns, and instead of trying to blow through this damage shield, you have to heal that NPC, and if you heal them up enough, the shield will collapse and do damage. If you don't successfully heal it, the shield will explode and kill, like it will hurt your raid, basically kill your raid. If you successfully deal with it, it will do damage to all the enemies in the raid. It'll basically make all the things on the field trying to kill you take a big chunk of damage out. So I really like the idea of these mechanics where if you try to ignore them, you're basically going to like get destroyed. But if you play with them, you can actually get yourself significant advantages. That's just a neat design element. So Liz has already said she's looking forward to it. Joe, what about you?
I am too. I've been looking forward to this since they first announced it. I think it is a fantastic idea. I am looking exceptionally forward to how it works. I actually really like Mythic Plus affixes from keys. I really, really do like them. I think they're fun. I think that they add some interesting variety to stuff that you may have seen a lot of already. And then doing something similar and adding extra stuff to the raids, I think is great because, and again, and I mentioned this like a couple weeks ago, we're in a guild, like Liz and I are in a guild that has a nasty tendency to just make our own hard modes for no other reason besides the expansion is over and we have nothing else to do. So we'll do stuff like try to figure out how to fight 2 or 3 bosses at the same time, or how far we can pull a boss in the geometry of the room that we're supposed to fight them in, i.e. Roof Shaman. Look it up. It's the only thing that's mentioned on YouTube that's called Roof Shaman. We have routinely done stuff like that because it's fun and wacky, and it gives us an extra challenge. We don't have to necessarily make our own hard mode anymore. We can just look at these and have some fun doing some really cool stuff.
I mean, you always want new things to do, and at the end of the expansion, you're always kind of bored. So of course you're going to try weird stuff. And this Blizzard just gives us something to do instead of us having to invent our own things to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good deal.
I now realize you guys are absolutely going to end up doing things like trying to pull 2 bosses while they've got these things going on just to see what happens.
I mean, this is entirely possible. I mean, Liz, when I say that if it's going to be left to stop Ado or Corv, yes.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be interesting.
Well, one thing we'll talk about really fast before we move on to the giant thing we're going to have to talk about, and that's WoW Classic's Season of Mastery is getting Phase 6, which is the... it's the Nax patch, but it's also the Scourge invasion before that. Phase 6 will start on July 28th. I believe Nax is a week or 2 after that. I don't remember exactly how long, but yeah, it's essentially it is the end of the Season of Mastery in a way, in that there won't be any further big patches. This is the last major content drop for WoW Classic Season of Mastery. And you all know what Nax is. So I'm not going to, sit around here and just tell you all like stuff about raids that were originally entered the game in 2006. But I will say that one of the things they've come out and said is that after this content is considered to be like, done, once it's essentially on farm and everybody's got a chance to do it, not just the people who are going to raid it the first day and blow it up in 20 minutes, but like everybody. Once that happens, they're going to let players choose what they want to do with their character that they've been playing on the Season of Mastery servers. You can either transfer off the server or I guess you could stay there. I don't know. I don't know why you would, because I don't think the server's staying up. I think they're going to wipe it so they can do another season of Mastery at some point. But you can either transfer your character to a server that's going to be Classic era, that's going to just stay in original World of Warcraft content and not go beyond that, and play there. Or you can transfer to a server that's currently Burning Crusade Classic, and which will be becoming Wrath Classic when Wrath Classic comes out. And you can level, you'll be able to level up to 70 until they actually put in the Wrath content. You'll be able to level up to 80 at that point and actually do Northrend and all that stuff. So people are going to get to keep the characters, which I think is really cool. There's also supposed to be a XP buff similar to the Winds of Wisdom called Joyous Journeys, which does the exact same thing, gives you 50% XP for everything. That's supposed to come out when the Wrath Classic pre-patch stuff comes out. So when new talents and all the stuff before Wrath itself, the content actually launches, when that comes out, it'd be like a few weeks before Wrath Classic itself actually launches, you'll have the ability you'll get that XP buff and you'll be able to level faster. But we don't know when that'll exactly. But that's pretty much it for that. You guys, do either of you have any real opinion on what they should be doing with Season of Mastery next, or anything you want to say about it?
I think they should keep doing Seasons of Mastery. I think it's a cool idea, and you can mimic Diablo 3, which have been really successful, I think, and really fun. They keep spicing up an old game. So sure, keep doing this with Classic, coming up with wild things.
Would you do it like just another 1 to 60 one, or would you do a Burning Crusade Classic one, or what would you do if you were going to be doing the next Season of Mastery?
I do not know. I just know that I would keep doing it. It got a lot of people hyped again. Something. I don't know.
Joe?
I agree. They need to keep doing it. I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's been pretty well received. There's no reason to not keep doing it. Where they go with it next, I really don't know. But I just want to see them keep doing it. I think it's pretty good.
I'm going to be the one to agitate for a Burning Crusade Classic one, because since they're taking they're not doing with Burning Crusade Classic what they did with Classic Era. They're not making special servers that stop at level 70 and that's it. So because that, if you want to play a Burning Crusade type experience and not have Wrath content the way that people wanted to have Classic stuff and not BCC content, the only way you're going to get it is if they put in BCC servers for a Season of Mastery. So I think they should. That's my opinion based on the fact that they're otherwise they're not removing any of it. It'll all still be there, but it won't be end game anymore. So, but regardless, I think we should probably move on to the thing everyone really wants to talk about. Wizards of Coast released. No, I'm kidding. We will probably mention Wizards of Coast, but the Dragonflight Alpha has been out since last week. It came out. I think it came out after the podcast, so I don't think we talked about it on last week's podcast. I feel like I'm right.
Mm-hmm. You are correct.
Okay, good. Occasionally I get things right. But Phase 2 is coming out today. It's actually downloading now. I couldn't get it to download in time to stream it, which I feel bad about, but I don't think the servers aren't even up. Yeah.
Yeah, the servers aren't up, so you have not missed.
But things that Phase 2, which is coming out again today, as we're talking, it will be out tonight. It's going to see people testing Forbidden Reach, I want to call them the Dragon guys, but they're not called that. The Dracthyr starting zone, for lack of a better word, which is, assumed. I don't know what level the Dracthyr start at. On the alpha right now, you start at level 60, and then when you go to the first zone, they bump you up to level 65 because it's not a first zone. I think it's a zone intended for about halfway through the expansion. But including the Forbidden Reach will be the Dracthyr starting zones. There's 2 dungeons coming in. The dungeon Neltharis, which is, I think, Neltharion / Deathwing's laboratory and stronghold. It's kind of like his workshop where he did all of his stuff back before he went, crazy for old god goodies. So that's going to be in as a dungeon. And Ulduar Legacy of Tyr, which is... You got me as to what that is. I feel like it's another level below Uldaman, but
that would be Uldaman.
Yeah, I said Uldaman that second time. First time I wrote Ulduar in the email because I got Ulduar on the brain, guys. Sorry. But yeah, Uldaman Legacy of Tyr. So we'll get to go down below the place where Arcadis was guarding and see what's left behind there. The Shaman talent revamp, which nobody here cares about at all, so we're just going to move on. I'm kidding. Please don't blow me up with your mind, Joe.
I'm not.
And no, okay, I'm scared. And the profession, specialization, and cooking. So we're going to get to look at what cooking is going to be like in Dragonflight and the various specializations to the professions. However, I gotta have Joe talk about what he thinks about the Shaman talent, because first off, I am planning on rolling a Resto Shaman and seeing it for myself on the alpha. But also because Joe has been on top of the talent stuff since they first announced it. And this is a class that he knows very well. So take it away, Joe.
I mean, I am trying to remain very constructive about it, but at first glance, it's a lot of what I expected, right? A lot of the core class abilities have been carved out and put into the tree. We've kind of expected it at this point. It seems to be happening with every single class, which I still am very confused by that design decision, because a lot of this stuff doesn't feel like choices that you can really skip or miss or avoid. And maybe this is because I'm sort of stuck in a way of thinking, and I accept that. But like things like Astral Shift being a talent, yes, it's a first tier talent, but that is your damage reduction, is very confusing to me. Other things I'm pretty much okay with. Healing Stream Totem is a talent twice, which Padilla and I were going back and forth with on Twitter earlier, and some minor changes that make it seem like that might be a deliberate choice to give you multiple charges of it. So I can accept that, but I haven't had a chance to actually put it in and play around with it yet. My problem is, at least on the healing side, because that's where generally I focus on, is pretty much every single core healing ability has been pulled out of the kit, except for Healing Surge, from what I can tell. And it is a talent that you have to choose. And that doesn't necessarily make it feel like a meaningful choice to me. It makes it feel like, okay, well, if you want to just be a healer and all, you're already investing 20 of your 30 points in basic needs. And the rest is stuff that you pick up along the way that maybe gives you a little bit of a benefit. The other thing that I was commenting on earlier, and I spent a good long time looking at it, is, and I don't know if other players feel this way with what they have with what their class has previewed so far, is that there's no real clear direction. So when I was envisioning the talent trees, and maybe this is on me, and again, this is all subjective, this is all my opinion, please take this with a grain of salt, is I was expecting that there would be clear paths or delineations with offshoots. So if you wanted to focus on something like single target healing, there'd be a very clear path of where you would go. If you wanted to focus on cooldowns, there would be a very clear path of where you would go, and there would be things that you would branch off with and pick. And if you wanted to focus on AoE healing, the same thing. It doesn't really feel like that to me, at least at first look. And from the hour that I spent with it today, a lot of it feels very much like you are a hybrid, get used to it. You can pick up certain things here and there, but you're always going to be a hybrid. You're not going to be the best at anything, but you can have a smattering of everything. And I don't necessarily like that, because I feel like that's in exact opposition to the rest of the healing classes. So I don't know. It's not awful. Like, I'm not going to sit here and doom and gloom over it. It has all the pieces that it needs. Like, there's a lot of returning things that I'm really happy to see. I'll call out Earth Living Weapon, one of my favorite things that they took away at a certain point. I'm super ecstatic to see that back. It is basically a shaman's version of a healing weapon enchant. Like if a Flame Tongue weapon, Frost brand weapon, and I can't remember the Earth one, as used to be around forever. Earth Living was the answer that was given to it that increased healing. It lets you do a healing proc. For those of you that didn't play with it before, it was very similar to the Embalmer's Oil in Shadowlands, which was, fantastic. It brought back a bunch of totems. There's, you have Mana Spring Totem is back again, something that's been gone for a very long time. You have your Stone Skin Totem is back. You have Call of the Elements, which is a talent that I am oddly interested why it was brought back, because from what I remember back in the day, nobody really took it because it didn't reset your giant cooldowns, because your giant cooldown totems were outside of its reach. But Poison Cleansing Totem's back. I've been asking for that for dang near 10 years. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. It just feels unfocused at the moment. And I think it needs to have a pass of where things are placed and what the intent is behind what paths they expect players to take. Now, some of this might actually be fixed by, and Liz pointed this out to me on Twitter the other day, and I think I missed this, and I apologize, that they're going to have like pre-done specs that you can select when you get into the game. Because I can tell you right now, that's a really good thing, because a new player looking at this is going to have no idea what they're doing, or somebody who only knows the 3 talent choices per tier system that we've had for a while now. It could be very daunting to go through all the choices, especially when in Shaman, like the talent tree, and I'm sure others as well, there are a lot of talent choices that are split choices on a single tier. So, like, Acid Rain is a resto talent that allows you to deal nature damage to 6 enemies inside of your healing, and it makes it offensive. But it shares a thing with Call of Thunder, which is your lightning bolts, chain lightning. It basically bumps your damage and your storm elementals. So, like, probably more for running dungeons or smaller content where you have to DPS as well as heal. There's a lot of those, and that can be very daunting for players. So I'll be interested what they feel is the default specs that they pick and what those default specs look like. Again, I had a very visceral reaction to it today, I'm not going to lie. Mostly because I didn't see a way immediately to get to what I currently have. And that was, Liz and I were talking about this a little bit. Somebody mentioned in our guild that Druid felt very much like, I can get to where I am now and then some. I don't feel that way right now about Shaman, and that may change, and that may be something that they alter, but it is something that I'm going to be giving my feedback on in the official capacity, because I think the bones are here, but things need to be moved around. Some stuff that's in the top tier, I don't understand why it's there, like Ancestral Guidance. It's good, but should it be a top tier talent? With, Mana Spring being literally one spot below it. Primal Tidal Core being a top tier talent, I'm 100% agree with. But should it be up there with Wellspring and, Deeply Rooted Elements? Maybe not. Those don't strike me as something that you would really work towards in a lot of cases. Or Tumbling Waves and Continuous Waves. They're great if you're going for a Primordial Wave build, but if you're not, and even if you are, it just feels like it's just a little bit like it doesn't make sense for those to be top tiers. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to like, but there's a lot of confusion, and that may not make a whole lot of sense. And I'm definitely having a hard time articulating it. It just doesn't feel very organic right now. It doesn't feel very focused, and that's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for something that says, okay, well, I know which general area I need to go to if I want to focus on one thing or another. And right now it's just kind of like shotgunned out there. So it needs cleanup, and maybe I'll feel better about it after that. But right now I'm neutral at best, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm trying to be constructive about it. Like I said, I think we can get there. I think it just needs attention.
All right. Don't really see anything to say about that. Can't really tell you you're wrong, because I have looked at it, but I don't understand half of what's going on there. And
again, it's completely subjective, right? 100% subjective. It's just my opinion. I know people that are very, very happy about this, and I'm all for it, right?
Well, until you get to play it one way or another, it's always
exactly
hard to, know one way or the other. So hopefully, if nothing else, once it goes live and we can actually get on the servers, I'm actually going to roll Resto and take it for a spin and see how it goes, because I have fond memories of it. So I'm definitely interested in play around with that. Our last thing we're going to mention for today, before we go on to try and get some of your questions in here, is the aforementioned Wizards of the Coast release, because they put out a new Wonders of the Multiverse Unearthed Arcana, which was kind of a grab bag of ideas and concepts. Some things that were mentioned before, some things that are brand new. Do either you want to talk about this one first, or do you want me to go?
I talked a lot.
All I have to say is that I am definitely playing Lichling in whatever our next game is. One of the things is Lichling, which is basically a Modron. Do I have that name right?
Yes, you do. It's very similar to a Modron. And Jeremy Crawford actually even said it was like a rogue Modron. So I don't know why these aren't Modrons. Like, it's one of those, why do you keep telling me they're like Modrons if you're not going to just have them be Modrons? regardless.
I think it's like a freed, gotten away from the hive mind of
Yeah.
mechanist.
It's still like a very lawful thing, but it's like, if you think about it, one of the things Joe likes to do is use computer metaphors because he's really good at them, whereas I'm not. But imagine if you have, say, your house has got a home network and everything in your house is on the home network. Now imagine your TV one day just gets off the home network and is just showing you whatever it feels like showing you. That's the what this is kind of like. The glitchling is still a very lawful creature, but it is a creature that is now self-directed. It isn't following anyone else's mandates. It's a completely free-willed, sentient, sapient being. And it's also a construct. I don't think it's a big surprise that I like construct races. I'm playing a Warforged in our Weirs game. I really do like them. I like the ones from the Theros book. I thought they were really interesting. I like the ones that are like undead, but not. There's that new race from, I think it's Van Richten's, the kind of, they can basically be Frankenstein's monster types.
Mm-hmm.
You can play that, and I like that too. I think that's really interesting, and I do think the glitchling is fun. Like, have you looked at the glitchling, Joe?
Yeah, I did actually. I recognize that artwork, and I'm trying to remember from where.
Oh, it's the art I used in the article. It's from an old Modron thing from 4th edition, I believe.
That's why it looks familiar. The Modrons, I love constructs. I think they're great. I also selfishly really like them because I like painting them. So if you give me a ton of glitchlings and tell me go forth, I will, have an army of them for a tabletop game at some point, because that's what I do.
Yeah, I would actually like to see what they end up doing for a model, because the description could make them more humanoid. The way it's described, they could end up being more humanoid than Modrons. I think that would be a mistake. I think having like the little robot circle, the little robot globe with the big robot eye and the weird fleshy biomechanical stuff, they're cute in a way that is deeply disturbing.
Yes.
And I think they should definitely keep that going.
They're creepy minions.
They're minions before minions existed.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the glitchling. But there's also the fated.
That's what I'm more excited
cleric.
about.
Go, Joe.
Yeah, so this one I'm a little more excited about, possibly because we just ended a 5-year D&D campaign where we just killed the God of Fate and reinstituted the Morai, which are the 3 gods of fate that weave and do the whole thing from Greek mythology, which is fantastic because this is right into there. It's basically messing with destiny, but you are a cleric devoted to it. You get omens and portents, which is like almost like a divination mage. I really, really love that. I like the idea that at level 3 you can see invisibility and things like that. It just feels like a very... This is going to sound weird, but I think you guys will get it. It sounds almost like what I expect like clerics in classic 80s fantasy movies to be like, if that makes sense, where they like have divine intervention and they like, happen to just be in the right place at the right time, or maybe could avoid the strike because, they were moved in this divine way. It's sort of like that trope. But I kind of like it. I think it's just really neat. I like the idea of serving and manipulating fate.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that Joe didn't even mention yet. The one that I like is Ties That Bind, which is a first level fate domain ability. And it's really interesting because you can do this to a willing person or object, or you can basically force it on someone and they have to make a wisdom saving throw to keep you from doing it. But if you get this thing bound to them, if you bind them to you, as long as you're on the same plane of existence from this thing, whatever it is you bound yourself to, it cannot be hidden from you. Like it is, you will know what direction it's in. You will know if it's moving, what direction it's moving, and you will know, you just will know this. And if you cast a healing or damage spell on something that's bonded to you in this way, you'll either get 1d6 more healing or more damage. I love this thing. This is really cool. It's got the limitation of only lasting for an hour.
Still, that's a long time.
It's imagine if you can use this thing, like it's basically a class feature, so you can use it as many times as your proficiency bonus, basically. And you could use this, like say you want to find out where someone is, and you know that they're like a master thief stealing gems from the royal treasury. You could bond yourself to a gem and just leave it there. And when they steal it, you could just follow them. And you won't have to make tracking checks or anything like that. You will just know where it is. You not exactly, but you will know it's that way. And there's nothing they can do for that hour to hide it from you. It is that way, and you will always know it is that way. That's just really cool and unique, and it has all sorts of ability to it. It's not game breaking. It's not. No one's gonna like feel like this will destroy my campaign because my players will be unstoppable. But at the same time, it's got a way to keep players like if a clever player using this can do all sorts of neat things with it. So I love that. There's a ton of stuff to this that's really cool. There's also, I didn't really go into detail when we wrote it up because I was already at like 700 words. But there's a ton of new. They've updated a lot of the feats from the giant options on Earth Arcana to make them, quite frankly, to make them easier to get.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you had to be like level 8 or 9 to get some of them. So they've updated those and they've made those easier. I think that's a really good move. In general, they have more of the backgrounds that allow you to get special abilities as well. And that's also a good move, in my opinion. Backgrounds since Strixhaven had really good updated background type stuff. And it made everything else look kind of weak by comparison. So I'm liking the new backgrounds they have here as well. They allow you to tie yourself to various planes. I think that's really cool. And then finally, you knew this one was going to get my attention. Spells based on the deck of many things.
Yep.
And a feat that is based around card use and card magic.
That's an old callback to 4th edition.
Yeah, it is. And it's also it's very interesting to see the ways they are making it work. The whole card ability where you basically put a spell in a card, essentially you cast the spell into this card, and then when you want the spell to happen, you just draw the card.
Yeah, you're basically Gambit or Twisted Fate from League of Legends.
Well, it's like it kind of, except you'll really only have one card, but you could always like put like say Delayed Blast Fireball or something on a card, and then just hold it and go, "Is this your card?" And the card will explode in their face. That there's interesting things you could do with this. And the deck of many things spells are basically just versions of the cards themselves. Like there's the Death Spirit spell, which is similar to the Spirit of Death that you can summon by drawing the wrong card. And there's the companion spell that is basically the companion created by the deck of many things, but except only for the duration of the spell. There's a lot to this that's really interesting, and I think that it definitely feels like the book that's coming out next is going to be some kind of planar cosmology.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, and it's going to deal with stuff like the primordials and giants, and the fact that it's going to reestablish the Great Wheel cosmology, because they have not been very specific on that. They've been kind of vaguing it up pretty hard on exactly what the cosmos was. We talked about it on Lore Watch this weekend.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm super excited about this. Liz wants to play Glitchling, and so if we get that supporter game we want to get done, if we actually manage to get that rolling, I'm super happy for you to show up and play a Glitchling. That would be great.
You bet. I was going to, if you're going to try and stop me from playing a Glitchling, we're gonna have to fight it out.
Try and stop you. No.
Try and stop me.
If people want to play something, I am the guy who will be like, that's awesome. How can I make this worse? Sure, yeah.
Liz is going to be the Glitchling shaped like a cat. It's fine.
That I don't know. totally down with this basic idea. But yeah, that's it for news. And I want to try and at least do one email. I mean, because come on. So if you guys have a question or email for the show, first off, you can email it to podcast@blizzardwatch.com with the subject line podcast to Blizzard Watch. And we'll, it's for this show. We'll use it on the show. And if it's for the other shows, I do my best not to steal them, but sometimes it's hard. I'm weak and there's things I want to talk about. So yeah. But you can also go to our Discord, and we've got 2 channels. One is for patrons because, patrons pay the bills and keep the lights on. That's the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel. But if you don't want to ask a question there or aren't a patron, there's also the regular old Q and Podcast Questions channel. That's for people who are not patrons, because we do still value you all, and we still want to answer your questions as well. Since we don't have a lot of time here, I'm going to try to get one that's relatively fast. So, actually, Joe, go ahead, pick one.
No. I talked a lot today.
You're still going to have to talk. All you're doing now is talking about how much you talked. If you picked a question,
Fine.
you'd be done already.
Curtis MC asks, who would make the better barbecue? Orcs, trolls, dwarves, or worgen?
Like I asked him when he asked me this, do you mean who would throw a better barbecue or be a better barbecue?
No, we're going with throw. We're keeping this not dark.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Diablo lately, so my mind went to the other one. But okay, sure. Do either of you want to answer this question before I do?
I mean, I'm going to say orcs because they have all the bacon. They literally have an infrastructure of pig farms. They are going to be masters of cooking pork. I'm here for it. So like, and probably Quillbore too, and probably some of those other ones.
Okay,
no
you
one has too many
can't.
questions.
You can't do that and tell me that I can't do my thing because that's dark right there, baby.
I couldn't resist. No, my answer is orcs. Orcs. They know how to cook the meats.
Liz?
I gotta say, where are the goblins and gnomes in this? Because they would invent like these easy things.
I'm assuming.
Barbecue.
Yeah, I'm assuming the goblins and gnomes are the ones. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The goblins and gnomes are like the grill master types, but that's not all there is to a barbecue. And let's be honest, things exploding or incinerating the meat with the power of like magical plasma. Sure, that thing's very impressive, but it's not necessarily what you want for cooking.
It's only going to be a percentage of things that are going to be magical. I mean, these are smart individuals. At least some of them are going to come up with like perfect barbecue technology that just makes the absolute perfect steak. I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna say gnomes. Gnomes are gonna figure something out that's gonna make amazing.
I'm going to point out that Gnome's idea of how to perfect the physical body was to lop pieces of it off and replace it with metal, and or just turn you back into fully metal.
It just means they have better access to spatulas. It's fine.
But in terms of this question and answering this question in the spirit that it was asked, I am going to say that it's definitely not worgen because they don't even care if the food is cooked properly. They're worgen. So you could literally just show up at a worgen barbecue and it would just be worgen eating raw things. So not going with that. Dwarves, I'm sorry, dwarves, but you guys focus on drinking a lot. And I've never been to a barbecue where everybody was super excited about the alcohol, where the food was good. I just haven't had that experience. Maybe someone else has, and if so, kudos to you. But I'm saying it can't be dwarves.
Well, I mean, if you're in the breweries at Keranos, do you really care how good the food is after you've been in the breweries at Keranos? That's
my point, really. Yeah. So, trolls, y'all have not confirmed and committed to the not eating people thing. Yes, the Darkspear have. The Darkspear don't eat sapient beings, but lots of other trolls are involved, and this just says trolls. It doesn't say Darkspear. So I'm going to say trolls. I don't want to go to a barbecue where I'm not sure if I'm going to get to taste the menu or be on it. And finally, orcs. Joe makes some good points. But, I mean, I'm worried about an orc barbecue. Orcs get really excited about things and will fight. Or have you ever met people who are serious about grilling and serious about barbecue?
Mm-hmm.
They will get very intense about this. There are going to be orcs challenging each other to Makgora over whether or not a dry rub or a nice spicy sauce is where you want to go with this. They will straight up be like, honor combating over, you can't cook the sides until so I'm going to say up front, I want to go to the Draenei barbecue because I'm relatively certain they're not going to kill me. Yes, I don't know what they're going to serve me. It's probably going to be some from another planet I've never heard of, but they're not going to kill me. They're not going to all get drunk. That one guy who doesn't wear armor is going to be funny. And yeah, it's just going to be a nice lighthearted experience. So I'm going with that. But if I have to pick from those four, I'm going to say orcs are probably the best of the four because at least I know what orcs eat, as Joe pointed out.
I want to add that Flan in chat just said that gnomes will be the ones to invent air fryers and instant pots, which I feel is totally on brand.
Yeah, and full well that gnomes will do that, and goblins will be inventing gigantic lenses which just focus sunlight down and burn through the food. They're going to do this. It's going to happen.
It's hilarious that you think they would do that instead of inventing flamethrowers.
They've already got flamethrowers. They don't have to invent those. Like literally,
Okay, so-
every time I've been to a goblin settlement, there's been somebody with a flamethrower. I'm like, that's not invention. That's just going home and getting your flamethrower.
just apply that to the food.
All right. Do we
For
have to
better or
leave?
worse.
How do you guys? How are you doing on time? Do we have time for one more question, or do you need to go?
Go for it. I'm good for one more, as long as Liz is.
Liz?
Yeah.
All righty.
Good.
Tetsemi asked, what situation would be more scary? Batman starting to smile or Spider-Man stops talking?
I saw that on Reddit too, Tetsemi.
Yeah. I saw it in the queue because I answered it in the queue, but I wanted to do it again.
I
Liz,
answered in chat
you get
too.
to go first.
Yeah, Liz has to go first.
Batman smiling. That's no, I don't even want to think about it.
Okay. Joe?
Okay, so Batman actually smiles pretty frequently in the comic books. It's usually smirks here and there, even when he's in the middle of fighting. When he knows he's won, that's it. It doesn't necessarily mean something bad's going to happen. It's not necessarily that scary. It just means that the fight's over, or that he got your goat real good, or he got the better of you in some way. Spider-Man stops giving quips and stops talking during a fight. You got a problem. And it's a big one. I talked about this in chat, and I'll pull it out here on the podcast. Back in Black is a short run that happens after Civil War and everything else, where basically Kingpin sends out a hit on Peter Parker because Peter Parker has given his identity up and as part of the Hero Registration Act, and you know everybody knows who he is now, and now his family is in danger as a result of it. The Hitman misses Peter and takes out Aunt May. Aunt May's in the hospital. So Peter goes and digs up the black suit, not the symbiote, the black suit that he wore immediately after the symbiote. And he goes and pays a visit to Wilson Fisk in the prison, where he's been orchestrating all of this. It is one of the scariest fight sequences in comic book history that involves Spider-Man, because it's 3 pages of nothing being said by him. It is only the Kingpin reacting, trying to get something out of him, while Peter, taking the suit off, is just beating him down. And you see exactly how helpless the Kingpin of crime is at what is ostensibly a 20-year-old kid. And so when Peter stops talking, when Spider-Man stops talking, run as fast as you can and pray he's got somebody else to target that's not you, because things are about to get real dark. What about you, Matt? What do you think?
Well, I answered it in the queue, so I'm not going to go into great detail on it, but unless it's the Batman who laughs, Batman smiling, as you pointed out, isn't that uncommon. And what's even interesting is that there are times where Batman smiles just to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, put Batman in a situation where there's a small, frightened child, and he will be the best person ever to be in that situation. Batman is great with kids. He is absolutely wonderful. If there's a small child traumatized, Batman will do anything to make them feel better. And he will absolutely smile. He'll do anything. So it's not always bad to see Batman smile. If Spider-Man isn't cracking wise, Peter Parker is, at heart, still a nervous little kid who is bullied and picked on and just is not very comfortable with the things he's doing. Like, as Spider-Man, the reason Spider-Man makes fun of his villains is to keep Peter from wetting his pants. That is straight up the purpose of all the jokes. It isn't to throw the villains off, although it's great that it does. It's not to, prove he's better than anyone. It's to keep himself going when he, every so often it occurs to him, oh, that purple dude has a glove that can destroy the world, and I'm trying to take it from him. It's that. It's a very good thing that Peter Parker has that going on in his life, because on paper, he is utterly effing terrifying. He is precognitive, which means he can see and sense the future. So you can't lay a hand on him if he's paying attention to what he's doing. If he's not overwhelmed, if he's focused, you can't touch him. Because in addition to being precognitive, he's nearly as fast as a speedster, and he's strong enough to punch through a 6-foot thick vault. He can pick up a train, has done so. When he is not holding himself back, which he does constantly because he doesn't want to kill anybody. Peter Parker's very anti-killing people. He's one of the stronger anti-killing people in Marvel Comics. When he's not holding back anymore, he can ruin people. When Doc Ock had his body, he punched the Scorpion's jaw off because he didn't understand how strong Peter was. He's been fighting Peter his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entire time Peter's been a superhero, Doc Ock has been fighting him, but he never understood how strong he was because Peter doesn't just... If Spider-Man wanted to win a fight with Doc Ock, all he would have to do is shoot a web into his face, pull him over, and snap his neck with one hand. He could kill Doc Ock anytime he wants to. He doesn't want to kill anybody or hurt anybody. So when he stops being Peter Parker, that's terrifying. The Black and Black story is actually fairly sedate because he doesn't kill Wilson Fisk. He just says, I could pop you like a balloon. I'm superhuman. You have no powers. I have all these powers. Spider-Man one time in the Secret Wars comic fought the entire X-Men. Cyclops, Storm, Rogue, Colossus, Wolverine, Nightcrawler. He fought all of them, and he won. They were trying to stop him from getting away. He got away. They could not stop him. The only reason that he didn't go immediately to Captain America and tell him what the X-Men were doing was because Professor Xavier wiped his mind. So yeah, I'm going with Spider-Man. I think Batman is actually just flat out a safer person to be around.
Yeah.
In that situation. If Batman is enraged with you to the point of madness and he's smiling, thinking about what he's going to do to you, you're still not going to die because he just won't kill you. You might make you wish you were dead, but he won't kill you. There is a point where you can push Spider-Man where he will kill you, and he'll do it horribly. He'll do things like when he found out that Kraven the Hunter's family had killed his brother, quote-unquote, clone brother, Kane, he pulled one of their faces off with his hand. He used his ability to stick to walls on their face and tore it off.
Yeah, it gets dark. Like there's
Spider-Man is scary.
There's a reason why like alternate universe Spider-Man, like there's an alternate universe Spider-Man, and you get like in the Inheritor Wars, that was trained literally by Wolverine to be an assassin. And it is one of the scariest incarnations of Peter that has ever existed.
Mm-hmm. Because he's literally, you can't touch him.
He's trained by Black Widow and Wolverine.
Yeah. You literally can't touch him. His spider sense is so strong that he knows that you're going to try to kill him before you even do anything. He already knows how you're going to attack him. It's crazy. But at this point, I think we've talked enough about that, and we've talked enough for the one show. So any highlights or anything you guys think that we missed that we should talk about briefly before we go? Liz?
I'm just waiting to see my talent trees.
Yeah, Paladins and Warriors really gotta get on that.
I'm really hoping they do well with yours. I really do.
The Paladin one, I hope. Looking at the Death Knight one was okay, so I'm hoping they can do the Paladin one okay, but I'm not sure.
Paladins just need options. From talking with Liz, and I'm going to bring this up real quick. Talking with Liz over the last couple of weeks has really opened my eyes to like class design for Paladins, because I will freely admit, at least in the Holy Paladin side, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. Not for a while. And y'all need choices. Y'all need some tools to make it a little bit better, because like, wow, like I did not realize. So hopefully that they can address some of that and make it more viable for you, because y'all need some love.
I mean, I would just like to have viable choices that could pull me into melee or out of melee. Feels like Blizzard has tried to, but not done well enough where getting out is a real option. Being in melee kind of sucks. Especially
since the Evoker is so good at doing both.
Yeah, the Evoker's really strong right now.
Yeah, the Evoker is extremely good at getting in and out of melee. And the Evoker as a healer, the healer Evoker spec, I've been playing with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm doing at all. But oh my, things have tried to kill me and they have failed because I'm like just like boop, heal myself. Yeah, and that's not going to happen. So yeah, there's definitely, and they still have a lot of offensive power even when they're healers. So yeah, I want to see Paladins get more mobility. More mobility that isn't just get on a magic horse and ride away for 3 seconds. Stuff that allows you to maneuver in the battlefield more. That's definitely something Paladins need. And I definitely think you're right about, like, I used to play Holy. I played Holy at the end of Battle for Azeroth, and then I went into Shadowlands on her, and I couldn't. Oh my god, I couldn't do anything. Until you get
the class feels kind of clunky with Holy Power added back.
I don't. Yeah, it's not my thing. But at this point, I guess we're going to get going. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. Again, if you've got a question for the show, you can hit up our Discord at the Patreon Q and Podcast Questions channel or the Q and Podcast Questions channel, or you can email us at podcast@blizzardwatch.com. I'm going to have Joe do the thing he does at the end because I often forget to. Like just now I was forgetting to, and this is me remembering. So, Joe?
Well, Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means this podcast sighting community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance at having your question answered on our podcast or the queue, and an ads-free site experience.
So, yeah, thank you for being here. We talked about a lot of news. We covered a lot of stuff. We didn't answer as many questions as I would like, but that's what next show is for. We'll just roll some of them forward. But overall, lots going on. Gonna do a final thought thing here. We haven't done one of those in a long time. I really like them. So I'm gonna ask both of you this final question. What are you most looking forward to seeing in the Dragonflight Alpha/Beta? What is the thing you are most interested in finding out about, most interested in seeing, that isn't your talent trees or your character specifically? Who wants to go here?
I mean, I think I've answered this before, but I'll just throw it out there real quick. Ulduar. I want to know what the heck's going on up there. I want to know what happened at the end of BFA. I really think we're going there at some point because we're already going to Uldaman. I need to know what the heck is going on with Odin. Flameface is up to something. I need to know what it is.
Okay, Liz?
I'm really looking forward to finding out more about professions. We've gone so long with professions kind of being this like weight saddled onto you that's annoying and really hard to get good gear, to get useful things, or it doesn't make useful things. So I like the system Blizzard has explained sounds great, and I'm really interested to see if they pull off that system really work the way they intend.
The work orders thing where you can make BOPs for other people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm so
really
excited to see that.
For myself, I want to know what happened to Stony Boy from the trailer. I want to see that guy.
Yeah, good
I
one.
want to know because he is for me what Zakan was for a lot of you. Except I actually like him. I didn't like Zakan. I like Zakan after the fact. I liked him in the books. I think he's actually really cool in the game too. But I didn't like him in the cinematic because why would I? Nothing specific about him other than he's really good in the trailer he's talking to Sarfang. And
yes.
I wish I'd seen that first. I didn't, though. For me, Stony Boy. But this has been the Blizzard Watch podcast, guys. Thank you so much, and especially thank you to Joe and Liz for putting up with my meandering today, because I'm in definitely a meandering mood. Hope you guys will come back next week, because we'll be here waiting to see you. Take it easy.